working with Mike Phillips of Whitehorse Ecology on the legacy report for the DVLP, so lots of you will have spoken to her already. Do you know, I have to say, just as Fiona walks up here, when you employ consultants, you think it's going to be a bit dry, this, isn't it? I think Fiona's become part of the team, as has Mike, and you will see hers and Mike's fabulous report on the legacy of the DVLP in due course. But Fiona, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Leanne. As Leanne says, I think I've come rather late to the party, but thank you for inviting me, Leanne. It's been a pleasure to be here. The last 2 months, myself and Mike have been talking to a lot of you, trying to understand really a bit more about the impact that this fantastic programme has had. And from my accent, you may be able to gather that I am actually from South Yorkshire. So it's always a pleasure when I come to South Yorkshire projects, see South Yorkshire landscapes, I feel really, really proud that I've been born from and come from places like this. As a kid, we didn't come to the Dearne. We actually went to visit the national parks. So we go to Peak Park on quite numerous occasions with my grandparents. They were in Stannington, so they did get out and about. My grandma in her high heels, so it was very entertaining. Maybe I have to tell them a bit nervous. Okay, so just what I want to do is just do a little bit of a thank you. As Leanne said, we have actually produced a report now. We've produced some recommendations about how things might develop and go forward in the future. And I think, as you've just heard, really, it's sort of the beginning. This can be the beginning. And the lottery funding and the work you've all done, it's really been a massive springboard. So what else can we say that hasn't been said already? So much has been said. So what I want to do is just actually read out a few things that have been said to us. The people we've talked to, whether they've been the partners or stakeholders, or some of the volunteers or some of the staff, or some of the public as we've been out and about, all the things that we've discussed, we've had really open and honest conversations. You know, there are some good things and there's some bad things too, some lessons to learn from. And I do thank everybody that we've talked to, if you've talked to us, for being so open and honest. So I'm just going to read out a couple of statements just to highlight the sort of conversations we've had, and then tell you a bit more about how we've approached looking at legacy going forward. So this first one is just an example of what somebody said about one of the projects. We had some outstanding reports from projects. No surprise, Barnsley Main was on there, Goldthorpe Embankment, but much, much more. So this is just one of the statements. The vision the local group had for the embankment has surpassed our expectations. More has been achieved than the group ever thought was possible. That's a direct quote from some of the people who've been working on there, which I think is true. Another one here about involving community groups. Partnerships and relationships have been a major strength, with support for community groups at the heart. There's been deserved award-winning success for the natural history recording projects. And again, I know the use of volunteers in those projects has been absolutely outstanding and not really been come across in some of the other landscape partnerships that we've looked at. This one about the role of the team. I can't thank DVLP enough. They've been amazing. I don't know where I would have been without their expertise and guidance on so many issues. And then last one for now, I will do another one later, but this one about the partnership. It's the best partnership board I've been on for doing what it says on the tin. A big part of this is down to the people who've been delivering the partnership and who I've been working with. So again, I think just really that last one highlights everything that's going on behind the scenes to really make things happen. And there are people sitting in the meetings deciding how money should be spent, where it should be spent and when it should be spent, and trying to meet the very, very rigid criteria that the fund set in feeding back and monitoring. Sorry, just couldn't fail to get that in. But in our approach, we've tried to view the legacy in two strands. So we've viewed legacy in place And I think what you've heard of tonight is all that legacy in place. So there's been a lot, can't really encompass it in a few minutes. But we have in our report tried to surmise some of that legacy in place. But the other strand has been about legacy in waiting. And really the legacy in waiting, I think, is the exciting part, the part that can go next. And we asked various questions, and we had to go back to some of the original vision here. So has the DVLP raised awareness of the area's significance? Can it continue to do so? The questions there. Did it allow local communities to become actively involved in shaping it? Can it continue to do so? Is there a better understanding of what makes it so special? Is there more to know? Have people benefited from the Dearne's built and natural assets through the project? Is there more to be gained? And when we went through those questions, if the answer was yes, it led us to thinking about legacy and waiting. And you'd be pleased to know the answer was yes to all of those. And is it in some of the recommendations of the report? So just to go over a couple of things on legacy in place. It's just a short list of things we've tried to encapsulate because there's so much. And I know Kate Measures, who's doing the final monitoring report, has had to try and condense so much information. So that will be with you shortly as well. So there's been heritage conserved and enhanced. There's been habitat created, improved connectivity and improved management. There's been a lot of heritage surveyed and recorded. I think that's one of the most outstanding things. For people, there's been new skills, new capacity and ways of doing things, learning and specifically trained people. There has been improved perception, access and opinions about the landscape. And then there's been a wide range of people, organisations and groups involved and or developed. But I think one of the main things, and Philip did allude to this really, there has been a real change in the way organisations in the area have worked together. And there's not many landscape partnerships that do have 3 local authorities trying to work cohesively together. So in that respect, this has been different. It's been different for lots of other reasons, because it's one of the only landscape partnerships that isn't about a pristine national park landscape as well. So in our work, we've looked at some of the other landscape partnerships that are doing a lot with coalfields and communities, and some of the findings have been passed on to Leanne with that too. But the highlights of what people said as we were talking to them about legacy in place were about community and people, and I think that's again been something that's been so startling in as we've been talking to people. So engendering community confidence, ownership, pride and identity, reconnecting and using volunteers with places not used before, and the natural history recording projects. Promotion of the identity of the Dearne area and the submission to awards. Quite a few people did mention that they really appreciated the effort was taken to submit some of the work to award processes and get those awards back. And then the creative approach to innovative arts projects. And I think again the creative approach was something that was very strongly felt came through. And as we've seen tonight, creative approach in the final end of the show. So in terms of legacy and waiting, as well as sort of asking those initial questions, we looked at what more there was to achieve and how we could take the DVLP forward. Were there opportunities that could be taken advantage of, and were there challenges that we would need to have a more realistic appraisal of? And then we also looked at what the priorities were. Leanne's here for until end of September. So there are some things she's got to do on her to-do list, and we've made recommendations on those. There'll be no surprise that we've kept to the 4 themes going forward. Built heritage, so continue to improve the condition of the built assets and strengthen the still untapped potential and opportunities for the built and cultural heritage. On the natural heritage, there's monitoring the condition and improvement of habitat. Still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of untapped potential out there. Again, I'm going to say the most striking things though, and the areas that were suggested really need to keep going, because otherwise things won't continue, and that's about engaging communities. So building on this success that's been portrayed here about community empowerment, and looking for some of the gaps that we picked up, particularly around learning, some discovery elements and well-being. We just think there's a real opportunity to pick up on some of those areas now that the access, especially to River Dearne, offers all those opportunities. So we have recommended that projects going forward develop an emphasis on changing people's lives, whether that's through health, whether that's through interaction with the landscape, or whether that's through getting involved in doing things. So that's been a major thread. And then the other part is building capacity and resilience. And tonight I was reminded with a conversation about the work of volunteers. In order for volunteers to do their work, you need to have people to support, develop, train and help them do their work. They can't go out and do their work without having that help. So the last thread we've recommended is on that building capacity and resilience, and a renewed focus on mechanisms that support people doing that good work, whether it's a new Friends of group, whether it's a volunteer group, whether it's a group in waiting in various aspects. So that's been a major part. And Mike, who's not with us tonight, one of his favourite sayings about what he's picked up for the legacy and waiting is finding a way to keep the glue. So we've had pictures of super glue being banded around, myself and Mike, because that's been our reminder. What you've had here in this project is that glue. It may have been unseen glue at times, but it's been there and it's been helping everything to be achieved. And really that does need to continue in some form. We've also spent some time with the partnership board, and they've worked extremely hard with us on one afternoon. I think we frazzled a few brains, but thanks to that hard work, we did actually come up with an action plan for looking at some of the priorities to take forward. So I do thank the partnership board for that time they gave that day. And it won't be a surprise, but a lot of the recommendations we've worked up are based on those conversations. I'd also like to thank everybody we interviewed. The interview process was really, really enthralling and a real eye-opener to what people themselves had got from the partnership, and a real reflection of just the passion here in this valley. So it's been amazing to work with people who want to talk to you and will tell you everything you want to know in a very Yorkshire way as well. And I want to leave you with this last comment, and the last sentence, I don't want it to be a down. I want you to think about what you might do about it. So I'll read this out and then I'll leave you with thinking about the last part. The staff have been fantastic. They have been good to work with, and the right culture has been developed. The opportunities to engage with nature have been excellent, and so much more community focused than any project or previous project that I've been involved in. The DVLP will leave a big hole. So, and I don't even know who said that, but that was one of our killer quotes as we were gathering quotes. So I do hope you will think about and take on some of the recommendations and action. And there isn't a huge hole, and it gets filled very quickly. Okay, thank you very much.